Welcome into another exciting edition of Up On Game Presents Keeping Pace with Skill. I have Congressman Meuser with me right now. It's a beautiful thing that I got us to this point right now, but it's wonderful to have you here on the show.
Well, it's great to be with you. I really appreciate it. You're a star in Pennsylvania, so I'll do my best to hang in there with you.
All right, well, we're going to do that, and you shall do fine. So we just spent a little bit of time over at one of the Legions, and that was a wonderful, wonderful event. But before we get into some of the conversation points that we're going to talk about, Little League World Series just finished up. You had an opportunity to get over there from what I hear. What was your experience? How did you like it?
It was just great. We spent a lot of time with the folks in Williamsport. We saw the parade, many different teams, all of them go by. The kids couldn't be more excited. There was a team from where I grew up out, and as we were talking about earlier, I grew up in Long Island, so Massapequa was there. Got to see them and some of the coaches. The Taiwan team came in, and I had known the ambassador. So the ambassador came up, and actually I went and saw a game with Taiwan and all their fans. And of course we had Hollidaysburg from Pennsylvania. They hung in there. They won a game. So it was really something. And in the end, Hawaii came away with the title. So it was just, it's just such a magical time for these young people. It's so competitive to get there. It was awesome.
Williamsport's a pretty beautiful place. They got the museum. I had no idea it was so extensive.
Yeah.
And Williamsport, and I've obviously been from PA, I had never ventured to Williamsport to see what took place, but I was totally blown away by the spectacle of it.
Jam-packed, of course, every hotel, families, friends, and so organized. Really, really run well. So everybody had a good time.
So being at the Little League World Series, one of the things I noticed is just all the teams that are there, and knowing that sponsorship has to be a part of them having the opportunity to live these lifelong experiences and memories that they create. Us doing the event that we did at the American Legion and so many other places that obviously you and myself visit to make a difference. How important is it for these organizations that support these youth leagues and these sports? How important is it for them to be supported and have the ability to be able to operate and keep their doors open?
Well, as you know, that community involvement is really everything to the quality of life of a town, village, or city. Here in Pennsylvania, my district, the 9th Congressional, which includes Eastern, Central, and different parts of Pennsylvania, rural and urban, it makes all the difference. The give back that takes place, the participation in the community. I think people do naturally will frequent those establishments and have great appreciation for them. And you know what? More importantly, as someone who did have a business here in Northeast PA, people want to work there. They hear good things. They hear a great reputation. And here we are at Mealy. Mealy Manufacturing. Half of what we saw today on the tour was about how much they give back. Why they do it is because they care greatly for the community. They know it is important. And as you stated, we were at a VFW a little bit earlier today, and they gave a very sizable check to that organization. That was to the veterans and the members of the Legion. And boy, were they were so happy. Right, made a big difference.
It was a great moment, and it does make a tremendous difference. And you have been making a tremendous difference in what you're doing in Congress. Can you talk a little bit about the things that you have done in terms of how it supports our men and women of service, our veterans, and as it applies to the military and that type of support?
Yeah, thanks. I think very much like you. I think I've been someone who's worked hard over my life, and when you're putting in the work, you're kind of in a no-nonsense zone, right? Because you want to maximize everything that you can do. And so I certainly try to bring that to this role, to this position of responsibility that I was voted into. And veterans are at the top of that list for not letting them down. You know, I got that gene. I don't like letting people down.
I hear
you got that.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I know you got that. And so from a legislative standpoint, I try to stay ahead of what's next for our veterans. And we passed a number of really important pieces of legislation, from the Mission Act, just giving veterans better access to the Department of Veteran Affairs, to other funding. Heck, I sponsored a bill to allow veterans some grant funding available to purchase a car for those that suffered the highest levels of disabilities, frankly, in combat. And then it goes on from there. It's the constituent services as well. My staff, I have a couple of veterans on my district staff, and we're just enormously responsive to them. Go to the American Legions and the VFWs and, you know, spend time with them, hear them out, spend time with our VAs to keep us all on the same page, and, you know, just let them know how the level of accountability they have to have. It's an honor to be able to do that. I mean, I get to, in this job, work for our veterans basically every day.
I think that is tremendous, because so many times agendas a lot of times aren't our own, and so you're forced to maybe, you know, put maybe something that you're passionate about to the back seat for the greater good of maybe a bigger agenda. And that, I'm sure that happens in politics. I'm certain that happens in politics, but you've seemed to have maintained a very, very strong foundational identity as to what you represent. You're also on the small business committee, and that too is a passion for me, in terms of just like supporting our vets and our people, our men and women of service. We also want to support our small businesses, because heck, that's what makes America American. Our military, our service members, and our small businesses.
Yeah, LeVar, I couldn't agree with you more. You know, I played my share of football. Started playing football when I was about 6 years old.
Okay.
Not about 6 years, that's how old I was. My brother was a couple of years older than me, so I was able to play early. You know, we pulled one of those things.
Okay.
And I played for 2 seasons in college. My brother played, nothing like you, of course.
That's all right.
But you know what? It was a great experience, and I have a lot of analogies to football that we've taken into our business and in life. And in football, you're always putting the team ahead of yourself, right? And a saying that my staff probably even knows: never think somebody else is going to make the tackle, because the moment that you let down is the time the guy go all the way in, and you probably could have had him. So I've always looked after the team ahead of myself. So it largely, in many ways, that has served me well in this role, as representing people, working for people, putting their needs and demands ahead of my own, and certainly in the business world, having customers. You know, you tend to do that. You do that with customers, and I was able to bring those experiences of my business life, 20 plus years, to this role. And I think it's more than, for me, than just being like a partisan guy. You know, I'm Republican, but I care about problem solving. I care about outcomes more than I care about ideology. And work for small business is work for the overall good, for the greater good, and it's for really the 2 most important things that our country. Well, our country's about a number of important things. Of course, freedom. Of course, our Constitution. You know, that's the one oath that we take as members of the House, and when you're in elected office, you take an oath. But we also must. I'm on the Foreign Affairs Committee as well. We need to have the strongest national security in the world, and we need to have the strongest economy in the world. And you know what? The world wants us to have that level of strength, because a strong America very often makes our partners that much stronger.
Sounds good, and that makes a ton of sense. And so to relate all of those things that you just said and to connect the dots on keeping pace with skill, how imperative is it to have these skill games in small businesses, in the VFWs, in the fraternal order places that they meet up and come to congregate? How important is it to have that element be present to help generate revenue for these small businesses and for these places that our military congregate at?
I think it's a win, 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 right? It's all winning. Sure, first of all, we make them here in my district, so that's tremendous. Mealy's Manufacturing employs 140, 150 people. We just walked through. This place is beautiful.
And a lot of them are military.
A lot of them are military.
Yes.
They give back to the military. They're like a partnership with the military. So that's huge. They provide a product that brings value to the VFWs, the Legions, and other local small businesses. Meanwhile, you have them getting hit by taxes. They don't have a lot of good news, particularly lately coming out of COVID. Taxes, regulations, more restrictions, supply chain issues, workforce availability problems. The list goes on. And high gasoline prices. And something like what Mealy Manufacturing provides them is just a fun new value add, which brings customers in, which brings revenue. Everybody's happy. You know, it's as I said, it's a multiple win.
If there were to be a super positive in terms of these games being in places, I think we've touched on that. We were to say, well, why are people so bullish on trying to make skill games into gambling games? I know for me, the education that I've learned and I've had since coming to work with Pace-O-Matic and work with PA Skill and other groups is that it's literally no different if I can play a game on a Nintendo 64 or on PlayStation. It takes skill to be able to win those games.
Yeah.
It takes skill to be able to learn how to use the buttons, the hand-eye coordination. Very simple to me.
Yeah.
But so many people are so committed to making these games something other than it being a skill game. Without you having to obviously go into too deep a detail,
Sure.
what's your take on that?
Well, I think they're worried about something that hasn't occurred and won't because it's been proven. As I mentioned earlier, I was the former revenue secretary. I used to be in charge of the lottery, and as different types of gaming or other games or devices, or even the expansion of casinos came along, it had no effect on lottery. I just think that they want to, out of fear, think that it could take away from the casinos. Outside of that, but you're totally right? With all the sports betting that takes place now, people are doing that on their phones. I mean, this brings them into an establishment. You know, it's not usually a lot of money. We're talking coins here, and it's fun. It's interesting. It's entertaining, and it helps out the enterprise. So people like you and the education that continues to take place, and as more legislators, such as we got Gene Yaw here, Senator Gene Yaw. I mean, he gets it. I think anyone who pays attention to it enough will understand the true value that it brings.
Is it safe to say, my true value and my conclusion, is it safe to say that the impact of skill games is far more than just a game? Is that a safe conclusion? Because I know for me, it's about our military, it's about our service members, it's about our small businesses, it's about our communities, our Little League World Series. It's about so many things, and the contributions that come from Pace-O-Matic, that come from skill games, that come from our manufacturers, and everybody has been so positive about impacting beyond it being a revenue generating game.
Yeah.
Is that a safe conclusion?
I think it is. I think you summed it up really well. You're very knowledgeable about the impacts that have been created, and you're seeing positive impacts. That's probably why you're supportive of the organization.
I'm very supportive. And one thing else I'm supportive of is sports and football outside of military and small businesses. And I know you have a son that's playing at Bucknell. Yeah. So let's shift gears for the wrap-up question.
All right.
You said you played football. Now your son is playing football. Tailback, could be a fullback. Yeah. What position did you play? I heard you say don't assume that the tackle would be made. Yeah. So I'm assuming you played on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. Who's the better football player, and how proud of you that you have a son that's playing ball at the next level?
It's pretty great. In our high school days, we played both
ways.
So I was fullback, linebacker.
Okay.
He was fullback, linebacker.
Okay.
But next generation, 2 inches taller than me, a good 25 pounds. I was heavier when I played, but and he's got wheels.
Okay.
As I mentioned, he's doing 4 or 5 in his bare feet.
That's impressive.
But it's the best.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so enjoyable. And what's most enjoyable is to see him and his teammates just have a good time, playing a great game, being inspired, inspiring each other. Hey.
And he's MPA.
And he's MPA. And it's, it's his glory years. Hopefully they continue, to some degree. But these are great times that they're having. I appreciate you asking me.
That's a beautiful thing. Did I leave anything out? Did I miss anything? If there's anything that you want to add to the conversation that would be relevant to yourself, to the conversation, here's the floor.
Well, I'm sure your audience knows you well, but you're something else, man. I'm glad to get to meet you. Look forward to staying in touch.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you're a badass for a lot of years, and well, you still are a badass.
Thank you.
Maybe a different way.
In a much different way, but I appreciate that very much, and I appreciate you coming on and giving me some time. So that's just a beautiful thing.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Right. Thank you. Right. Hey, we got my man here, Congressman Meuser. That's right. Mr. Meuser is here. And I'll tell you what, this has been an impressive conversation. Make sure you check out Up On Game Presents Keeping Pace with Skill so that you can subscribe, see what's going on, check out the calendar of events, all those different things that we got going on. Continue to support what we're doing. We appreciate you guys. And until next time. I'm LeVar Arrington. That's, the man, the Meuser himself, Congressman Meuser.
Keep fighting for America.
There you go. You take care. We'll see you next time.